What up, everyone? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. You know how it be. We sponsored by Off the Record this week, just like every week. Some of you guys experienced a bit of an outage. Sent me a DM. 2 people sent me a DM. Our TST pod code had expired at the end of 2024. So we've extended that code into 2025. But just a heads up, in a couple of months, we're going to have a new code that we're going to be changing over. That way, all of the people using Off the Record can't just like get our code off other weird like code sharing sites. It's only for TST people. So if you get a ticket, a moving violation, don't plead guilty, get Off the Record. Download the Off the Record app and use code TSTPOD, TST pod for now, to get 10% off all your legal services from Off the Record. And oh, by the way, I have gotten a bunch of emails from people. Off the Record's been killing it, dude. Dismissals left and right, all over the place. We love Off the Record. You can also, if you want to use a web browser, offtherecord.com/TST, or download the app and use code TSTPOD on that Off the Record app. 10% off all legal services. Don't plead guilty. Get Off the Record. All right, folks, we are live on a big stage for this one. We are up on at the King of the Hammers race out in Johnson Valley, and we are sitting up on the main stage doing a live podcast to Hammertown with King of the Hammers founder Dave Cole and racing driver, Formula Drift, Ultra 4 racing driver Vaughn Gittin Jr. He's an old pal of mine, and it's great to get him back on the show. We are talking about the history of the King of the Hammers race, what makes it so crazy, what Ultra 4 racing is all about, how off-road racing compares to Formula Drift driving and grip driving and the different skills required. It's a great time with these two guys. We loved having them and really enjoyed King of the Hammers. It's Dave Cole and Vaughn Gittin Jr. on the Smoking Tire Podcast. Hello, Hammertown. This is exciting. I get to talk to all 80,000 of you at once. My name is Matt Farrow. Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast live, and boy, do I have a fire pit of people looking at me with a cocked head. That's my man and my producer and co-host, Zach Clapman, right there, and we are extremely privileged to be joined on show number 985 with one of my oldest racing driver friends, Vaughn Gittin Jr., a.k.a. JR, driving that RTR Bronco here this week, and of course, Dave Cole. Owns the joint, runs the joint, built this stage in how many weeks?
2.
2?
2 weeks.
Built the stage in 2 weeks. Built the event over 19 years.
This is the 19th year, yes, sir.
19th year.
This
Amazing.
is so great. Thank you guys for having us out here.
It's my pleasure. This is cool.
Pumped to be here. Amazing.
Yeah.
And this is actually my first time here, so nobody should expect in-depth racing analysis. I'm at the, oh my God, what is happening phase of my King of the Hammers career.
It goes about there 2 or 3 years that'll still happen, and then about the 4th year you'll still feel uncomfortable about like where gate 3 is. We move it every year though, so
yeah, everyone seems to have an expert opinion of where we should go, what we should do, and see. That hill over there seems to be universal.
Yes.
And what's your recommendation, Dave? So you agree?
I recommend that you go out with some of the teams, go pre-running tomorrow. If that one pre-running won't be a thing, tomorrow's racing, isn't it? It is. Then I suggest you go watch the big race and maybe get out to the remote pits and see some of that strife happening out there. And then and there's a Jumbotron out there, I believe, too, so you'll be able to see the race. So, yeah, go do the things.
Dave you didn't tell Dave that you also have a Raptor Ranger. So
we have a
suggestion
Raptor Ranger.
And that would be go ripping in the desert.
Oh, yeah. Then you do, yes. Yeah,
we have Mike Levine over there from Ford. He won't like this, but we have a disposable Raptor.
It's not ours. We don't have to pay for it.
I thought all of them were disposable.
This is an early production. This one ain't never seeing a public road again.
Well, that they said, "Oh, Matt Farrow's coming. Yeah, give him that one."
Well, that's why it has 5,000 miles on it.
We have a pre-production one for him. Yeah, give him that one, please.
How many years have you been here, JR?
I've been here since 2016.
Okay, so 8, 9. 8.
Yeah,
9.
Whatever that math was,
Whatever that
counting.
A bunch.
And you're absolutely right because I was on the beach in Jamaica with my family on my yearly vacation, and Harry from Nitto called me, and he's like, hey, we have a spec truck for King of the Hammers race. He's like, do you want to go do that? And I was like, is that the race with like the big rocks in the desert and like all the things? He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, that sounds fun. So no lie, I showed up here in a rental car with brand new tennis shoes on. And then I come in Boone Road, which is the road you came in on, right? And it's like nothing. Yeah. And then you get through the gates, and it's just like Burning Man with race cars, right? And I fell in love, and I've not stopped coming back.
I get it. And Dave, before we started the show, I asked you what came first, the UTV or the King of the Hammers, and you said the King of the Hammers by a month or
couple months. Yeah, it was April, May of 2007, I believe. The Robbie's Ride RZR dropped, and that was the beginning of. I mean, we had Yamahas back then. Rhinos were pre that time, but the Sport UTV started in 2007. Yeah.
Before that, they were just helpers. Like they would bring your tires to the pits and move your stuff around.
There wasn't even before. I mean, before 2007, there was just the Yamaha Rhino. That was it. There was the Rhino, and it had been discontinued, and then then we started Ultra 4 racing, and Jeeps were, and everything was coming back, and then the Razor started up, and then Can-Am came out, and then the explosion of technology in that world is bonkers across all of it, even in the big cars and in Broncos and everything else. The adaptation and the technology advancement over the last 10 years is bonkers.
Well, that's something I wanted to ask you about was like, how has the hardware changed? You've been doing this now 9 years. Have you noticed a difference in either durability, capability, or speed of the vehicles? And like, what do you attribute that to?
It's unbelievably changed just in the short time that I've been in it. The biggest progression: tires, suspension. Suspension meaning everything on all four corners, right? Whether it's billet trailing arms, portals. We've got Fox Live Valve, literally the same suspension that's in the Raptors, that's constantly adjusting to what's going on. We have jump mode.
That's JR's truck going by right now. If you can hear that in our microphones, it's literally his vehicle that just drove by.
Yeah, it is.
Those shocks are sick. We have them in our little blue Ranger Raptor, too.
And they're constantly adapting, and we've got buttons on the wheel that we can, like, if I see a G-out coming up and I can't slow down, I can lock my compression out. If I get a big rebound and I'm going to buck the back, I can lock it out. Like, it's unbelievable. But the coolest thing about what I love about this sport and something that kind of transcends the drifting is, in the unlimited class. Now, there's classes with rules, but in the unlimited class, there's so many different approaches. So people show up here with independent front suspension, fully independent cars, single-seat cars, co-drivers, lightweight, heavy. It's just who builds their theory of the better mousetrap and show up and throw down with it.
When you drift and you're drifting a front-engine car, you drift Mustangs, and do you have a preference for front or mid-engine
in drift?
Off-road.
Well, funny you say that because I've only driven front-engine cars, and now I have a mid-engine truck for the first time this year. And there's trade-offs with everything. Right, there's compromises with everything. The front engine, I believe, crawls a little better, but the mid-engine truck, where the balance is in the desert, and you just have to be a little bit more committed in the rock. So, like, it's like any race car, right? There's trade-offs, and so when people are in there dreaming their mousetrap to bring the King of the Hammers, there's all these different theories of what's going to win, and every year,
the fact that the course changes certainly changes the balance of your math, doesn't it?
Well, we know there's rocks, we know there's desert, right? So it's pretty consistent in that realm, but it is heavy rocks, and you have to be able to do both. But the progression that I've witnessed in the last 8-9 years, it's crazy. I mean, Laura, my teammate, has been through 4 different cars in the past 9 years because of the progression, how quickly other people are building things that just push past where we were at. And so it's performance, right? But it's also not braking.
Yeah.
What goes on in this race, I can't even tell you, Matt. It is literally, when you get done this race, it's like you got done an 8-hour fist fight. And,
Dave,
and these
how
trucks
long is
handle
each lap this year?
80 miles for the longest lap, 65 miles for the first desert lap.
Okay.
But before we talk about the progression, Dave really needs to explain how this race started, because it is the story of this race is not like it. It's not like he was like, I want to be a racing promoter and start. Please explain the story. It's unbelievable when you hear this to where we are right now.
In 2006, I competed in rock crawling, and I love it. Still my thing. Passion is rock crawling, and the sport was growing, but it wasn't taking off, and we couldn't get people to come to it. We couldn't get sponsors to really go after it or support it. And in 2007, I decided to try something different, and I knew what the permit rules were here. So I had 12 guys. I had all my friends and 3 more people. So I had 9 people and 3 more. The 12 people showed up, and we went racing, and I went on Pirate 4x4 back then, which was I'm not sure if you know what Pirate was, but Pirate was pre-Facebook. It's where our culture kind of joined and communicated from around the world. And we could talk to people from Pakistan online on Pirate about how we were hand-forming metal stuff. It was crazy. And
was that at all related to Pirate Bay, where people would like download movies and things like that? Was this like neighboring websites? Okay,
nope.
Never mind.
Nope. Pirate 4x4 was purely just a free-for-all of awesomeness, of just all the ideas percolating and where you were going, what you were doing. It became the aggregator. It became the thing that brought everybody together.
And so movies.
Different place. And so, in 2007, there's 12 guys, and I had a partner then. His name's Jeff Noel, and I'm still not good at money. And Jeff was like, we can't be in the red to start, so we got to be in the black. So we did a budget, and the first race was going to cost $30,000, 2008. So we had racers. We convinced pro racers to send in resumes and told them that they couldn't enter the race. They had to be accepted into the race, which is rather
exclusivity.
Exclusivity. Well, the other part was no one wanted to come. So the only way you can make people do something is you tell them they can't. Turns out this is the best way to get people to do something. So we told them all they couldn't race, and we told all the media they couldn't come, and we told the fans they couldn't come, and then all the media came, and all the racers came, and all the fans came.
It was a good move.
That year we needed $30,000, so we got to a point of $600 per racer and hoped we could get 50. And once I had 50 people said they wanted to come, we called them all in 3 hours and told them they had the last spot if they paid today. So we had $30,000. We had a race, and we did it. And then next year we did it again and went to 100 racers. And last year was 930 some odd. I think we're short some classes. We're not doing short courses, that kind of stuff, but we're still 700 some odd entries this year. It's been a crazy ride, and the fans. You meet people, you see the same people that have been here since 2008, 2009. This is the place that I see them. This is the place. It's a happening now, and the people that come here are the reason why it's rad.
Well, it seems like
it's like every other party.
It seems like the people here
absolutely
spend the entire 51 weeks of the rest of the year preparing for this one.
No, they spend the 51 weeks living the same way, and they just happen to come here, live here for a week, which is cool. But the people that are here are the ones that do. There's people that watch, there's people that do. There's a bunch of doers out there.
It's evident as soon as you drive around the parking lot, which we did for a couple of hours. I mean, you see the absolute spectrum of, I'll say color, but it's really like the vehicle construction. And you'll see 2 Jeeps parked next to each other, 1,000% different. And you'll see the most interesting creations, and it's all based on function, and then also, like we were saying before the show, like they're working on it in their garage. They're building it themselves anyway. They're not buying this off the shelf or even at like a specialty shop. And they go, well, if I'm wrenching on it, I might as well make it look the way I want to look and express a part of my personality. So you see jokes and you see cool paint stuff and you see metal formed. I mean, it said to you, like we saw a shortened Defender 90. Who shortens a Defender 90?
Right.
It's like shrinking a Mini Cooper. But people here are doing it because because it serves a purpose and helps them crawl the rocks better. I mean, there's just so many crazy, awesome, super functional, badass contraptions.
I'm actually even more impressed by the toy hall, the improvised toy halls.
Oh yeah,
that is some.
It's necessity, man.
There's
Necessity is the mother invention or something like that.
Yes.
I have to find a way to get 3 race cars and a camper trailer with my gas-powered three-speed pickup truck from Maryland to the Hammers.
It's amazing.
How else could I do
It's
that?
ingenuity at its best. And like we were on the lake bed the other day doing a photo shoot. Right? We've got $500,000 race trucks everywhere, right? Everyone's gawking on them. I saw this dude pull up in it looked like a tea bucket, but it was like a wide tea bucket, and he 100% hand built this, and it looked like a 1930s something or another, and it was so rad. He had leaf springs, one on top, one on bottom, with push rod suspension on it. I'm just like, what do you know? Like it's so cool. It's so cool to see people's
push rod and leaf spring.
He probably had them around,
Right.
you know?
I wonder how that rides. How do you think that rides?
I mean, how flat is the road?
If you're out
It's got live bell shocks on it. It's a T-bucket, but it's got live bell shocks on it. I mean, come on, it rides great.
Folks, time to take a quick break for HelloFresh. Boy, do I love me some HelloFresh. They sent us the big box this week. Hannah and I were cooking HelloFresh at home all week. And boy, do you get that farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the store. Count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. They sent us the box this week, and I was real excited. There was some crusted Parmesan crusted chicken breasts we did. The mashed potatoes were absolutely kick-ass. In fact, I saved the recipe card for the HelloFresh mashed potatoes, and I doubled the recipe and made them again for my friends 2 nights later. Ate it for Hannah one night, cooked the same recipe for friends again. It was great. They line up all the recipes on the card. That way, when you cook, it is a 30-minute meal. They're easy. The 15-minute meals they have are done in just 3 simple steps. If you got to eat even quicker. And there's all kinds of add-on items you can add to your weekly box, like quick breakfasts and packable snacks, beverages, a whole lot more. I thought this week's HelloFresh delivery had some really good food. There was the Monterey Jack cheeseburgers with the roasted potatoes. I really liked their recipe for roasted carrots. I modified it slightly with a different seasoning, but it worked really well with the burgers. And it was great. It was easy. Everything we needed was in that bag, pre-portioned. When I opened the bag, I was like, is this going to be enough food? And it actually was. Although if you eat a lot, if you're very hungry, if you work out a lot, consider double proteining. Just I'm saying it's a thing I might consider if you really want to go hard on the meats with that one. But the meals were fresh and tasty, and I really enjoyed them. Now you can too. Get up to 10 free meals and a free high-protein item for life at HelloFresh.com/SmokingTire10FM. They have made the code a little bit complicated this week. It's 1 item per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's up to 10 free HelloFresh meals. Just go to HelloFresh.com/SmokingTire10FM. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. And now, back to the show.
It's cool though. That's one of my favorite things here. And to your point, there is people that literally spend 51 weeks building their thing to bring the hammers.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, and it's just a passion. It has created an unbelievable. Dave and his team have created an unbelievable lifestyle for a couple weeks here in the desert.
Can we talk about one-wheel off-roading for a second? What are these guys doing?
Man, well, at some point it's harder and harder to find more insanity. Like when you dug to the bottom, the dredges of finding all the craziness in the world, turns out there's people that do it on one wheel too.
Wheel.
They're amazing, and they're rad as humans, and they're out there just fully sending it. And
Yeah, I saw a guy riding a one-wheel igloo cooler.
Oh yes, that's Cooler Joe.
Shout out to him.
Cooler Joe.
Cooler Joe.
But his
He's
friends
been
are
here
in,
for 40 years.
Do you know Cooler Joe?
I don't.
his friends are in full body armor, and they're going over some of these obstacles, and they're literally one-wheeling past cars that have 40-inch tires. And these guys are standing on a 12, 14-inch tire. I mean, that's incredible.
It's exactly the same thing.
I've never seen it before. This is the first time they've been here, but they're doing the thing.
I mean, what else?
Adding to the party.
Yeah, adding to the party. If they live, they'll be back next year, and that'll be the new class. How many classes are there?
Well, they're already changing their name from Amped Electric to Ultra One. So they're coming back.
Ultra 1.
Ultra 1.
Oh my gosh! Ultra 1, Ultra 3, and Ultra 4. Perfect.
We just learned about Ultra 3 today.
Oh, you missed it. Last night was the show.
You've got Ultra 0. It's all the Ultras here.
Ultra 0. Are people okay? Is that three-wheeler oval racing is
Super speedway, yes, sir.
That's fantastic.
The one wheels did that too, faster, so pretty fast. Really fast. They're 200cc three-wheelers.
So it's like flat track racing, but you can't tip over until you do.
It's not flat. It's banked. It's a banked oval.
It's like a
It's like a velodrome.
it's a
Three-wheeler velodrome.
I love the invention.
Roller derby
People
on
find the funnest, newest ways to be dangerous. They're just like, ooh, this is, like you said, this is too safe. We've done this. How else can we do this same thing?
I mean, way back when we had the chair of death on the back of Krusty's pickup truck, which was really just a spare tire mounted on a hub, put on the back of his pickup truck. So you sit on this 37-inch tire, but then when you'd spin you around on top of the pickup truck. Boy. And on 37s on the trucks, you're 5 feet off the ground. And no one would ride it when it was called the chair of death. But once we called it the chair of fun, everybody rode it. So it really is just all about
Branding is really important.
Master of getting people to do things that are against their best interests. That is proper.
You are the master of that. Like, you can't come unless you sign up today. Oh, no, this is the chair of fun. Are you sure you want to do it?
The chair of personal responsibility is next.
Sure.
I can't wait to see how this goes. Okay, so we met in your drifting career, your other career, and here, other than an overpowered vehicle and a loose surface and a looser than normal rear end, this is a totally different type of driving. Are you? What of your drift skills translate over here?
All of them.
All of them.
Yeah, so, vehicle placement obviously is number one. The ability to control a vehicle at very high speed on a loose surface.
Obviously.
And then the ability to manage the weight of the vehicle in all situations, right? So I have a unique approach to driving. I use a steering wheel and 4 tires, right? That's my approach. And anything I get in, I'm like, hey, what's this do? Okay. And I feel it and go. But when I started getting into this sport, the biggest thing is understanding grip and traction, because when you're in the rocks, you have to maintain momentum or you have to have grip to get through the situation. And so for me, being able to, coming from having my tires spinning 30% faster than my car, when I'm in the rocks, I can feel every little bit of grip, and that's been a really good benefit for me after I learned how to read the rocks.
Right.
Which is a whole other art on its own. In fact, I've been doing this for 9 years. I probably just learned 2-3 years ago how to read the rocks, and it's always been my co-driver. He tells me the line, I can drive it up it, because that's when I'll come in and have my skill set. And so it really is a two-person team. I used to race motocross before drifting, and so being in the dirt, I'm no stranger to that. I'm no stranger to being in the air. I'm no stranger to, managing weight and braking in loose surfaces. So it all has just really come together for me, right? It's like kind of like life. Like every moment gets you ready for the next. And
I just went to Supercross last week. That is one of the most athletic things I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
It's unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
Must have been exhausting.
It used to be, it was the most exhausting motorsport, or I think sport you could do. It was like that, then ice hockey, when they measured their heart rate and stuff.
We did the math. It was like 340 jumps every race. It was like insane.
You counted that?
We counted the number of jumps per lap.
And then lap, okay.
Multiplied.
Fair. I thought you were like 1, 2.
How many jumps do you?
I forgot your
How many jumps do you have per race here? What do you think it is?
Well, it depends how many times I get airborne in the desert.
That's
A couple hundred, maybe.
Yeah. There's you're all 4 wheels off the ground, probably
A lot.
a lot.
A lot.
Well, today we were watching, what's the spot over here called?
Qualified?
A qualifier, I guess.
Yep.
We were watching people get air on the way downhill in rocks, which is something like I always thought jumping's fun. We got some air today. We went for a ride with Mitch Guthrie in the crazy Raptor T+. And like going through the air upward, I'm real comfortable. But when I saw this person catch air on a downhill, that seemed just terrifying.
It is terrifying. Look, 60, 70% of this race is terrifying, straight up. And that's why you keep coming back. It it's such the representation. This race to me is such a representation of growth in life and how you grow as a human, right? So this is the ultimate battle, and we can say one-day battle because someone will argue this, but this is the ultimate battle of man, team, machine, period. It literally takes everything that you have as a human, plus all the equipment, plus the team, to just think about finishing this race. Every time I've raced this race, I ask myself, probably about end of lap 2, do I really want to be doing this? You're starting to hurt. You're starting to get tired. You're starting to lose focus. It is a gnarly game, and it is so addictive. And you can't. This is not one of those sports that you do for anything other than the passion of it, for the self, the gratitude that you personally get. This is not something that people can say, pay you money to go do. I mean, maybe some people will do those kind of things, but it's not about that. This is
the same thing about Pikes Peak hill climb. People speak about the Pikes Peak hill climb exactly the same way.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're flirting with death.
Yeah,
you know,
versus the mountain. It's not even you versus the other competitors.
Yeah. And you get one run, and a lot of people, like here, a lot of the cars you see at Pikes Peak were built in a garage by people.
I drove a rock crawler at Pikes Peak.
You do what?
We raced rock crawlers at Pikes Peak.
Really? On the road or just up the side of the mountain?
No, up the road. I ran a 1305 when it still had dirt in a rock crawler. Yeah,
Pretty fast. That's pretty awesome.
We had 12 Ultra 4 racers racing in the prototype class. We raced against the La Carrera Panamera, the Panamera Carrera thing in the race in Mexico. Those guys, like a guy had 1,200 horsepower Hudson Hornet.
Oh, I know that car. That's a very famous car.
Yeah.
The Hudson Hornet.
Yeah, we raced with those guys. It was a blast.
We went to Pikes Peak 2 years ago, and some of the guys who were racing versions of UTVs, street prepped UTVs, and the things were like insane.
Super fast.
Who was the guy who rolled, landed on his wheels, and had it first gear and going within?
I know the video. I remember saying
it was the greatest Pikes Peak crash in history. 3 rolls on his wheels and was in first.
What kind
gear.
of vehicle?
It's like a built UTV side by side.
Yeah. Sick.
Because Levi Shirley went off, right?
I'm pretty sure you're talking about Levi Shirley in the Ultra 4 cars.
He had an Ultra 4 car.
Yeah.
He literally went down the mountain and came back up, right?
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that was Levi. He's here racing this weekend.
Greatest onboard crash.
Railed it today in qualifying.
He what?
He sent it today in qualifying.
Yeah.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Levi's an OT.
He's
He's been around for a really long time, and
Yep.
What does your recce process look like when it's a new course every year? Yeah. So
Yeah.
what is the recce process?
so
for you?
most years we'll get a complete course of all 3 laps, and then we'll come out the weekend before and just go pre-run, make notes, get it comfy. This year, however, this guy decided not to tell us what lap 3 was. So we came out, did our process. So we go out, we'll do a lap or 2 at the desert, and just make notes, because it's always changing. So we'll make notes in the desert. The big things you're looking for in the desert is the big G-outs, right? The stock class Bronco that we race, that can handle, not as much as the 4400 truck. So we're making notes for both races. And then we get in the
What
rock.
are you using for recce? What are you driving this in?
This would be, this year we were in Yamaha YXC 1000s. And then we also, we have a R-Max, and then we have a pre-runner for the rocks. And then Bronco or Bronco Raptor, depending upon what part of the desert. So we're grateful to have multiple vehicles to choose from. So whatever tool needs to do the job. And then it'll be myself and my co-driver, Lord and his co-driver, and then we'll just go together, stop, talk about things, get out. We get to the rocks, we get out the rocks, walk some stuff if we need to, and just pick out different lines. Because not only are you racing, right, you're by yourself, right? 2 cars leave a line, 30 seconds apart?
30 seconds apart, twice. Yep.
Yeah, 30 seconds apart. So, but you're also planning for when you get to a rock trail and there's 30 cars having a yard sale. So now you need to know the different lines in the rocks so that you can improvise on the fly. Ideally, not getting out of the car and sending your co-driver to walk to find it. So this is the kind of work that we're doing before. Is really just familiarizing, this place changes every year. Not only does the course, but it just changes, right? The desert is gnarly the way that things change, and the rocks change too, from all the wheelers and 51 other weeks a year. So that's the process.
If it rains a lot, it washes more dirt away, or if it's windy, it can blow more in. They can get deeper, more shallow. I mean, that's what's fascinating about off-road racing. And this, to me, is a road course is basically the same all the time. They repave it. All right, it's got new tarmac, but the lines are going to be the same.
Yep.
They're not going to redesign COTA. But here, you do redesign the race course, and it can go over this way instead of that way, or a different direction. But also the rocks can change their size and their depth and everything. In the amount of rubber on them, you guys have to adapt to all that stuff.
They'll be driving 65 of the same or more of the same miles all 3 laps, and all 3 laps will be different. They won't be the same. The rock that he planned for and prepped for and said, okay, I got a rock on the right coming over this rise. It will be on the left a quarter mile later by the time
somebody hit it.
Yeah, they'll crush it. It'll be through it. It'll be in the left line now instead of the right line. You won't know. You'll come over the left line because that's the clean one, and there's going to be that big rock that's sitting there.
There's a lot of redecorating. When I was here in 2012, I watched a rock about the size of a basketball just fly past some spectators and media people, and I went, someone might have planned to put their tire on that. And this is also a place where you'll see a truck drive over the wheel of another truck because that truck's in the way. Is that against the rules, or is that just okay?
It's encouraged.
It's amazing, and both trucks are fine, by the way. In road racing, obviously the cars would be just in heaps.
I have a funny story about running over, actually. A couple years ago, there was a guy in the way, and I had to run his truck over.
What part of his truck?
It was probably like tires, but I probably touched his door a bit, but it was like I had to go around him. He was jammed up, and I had to go, and that's the deal. It happens. So I now am ahead of this guy, and we're in another trail, and I get jammed up. And I'm sitting here, and I hear him coming, and I'm just like, oh, my gosh. So, literally, you just take it. He just, fiberglass foot just falling off, and you're just like, yeah.
I had that coming.
Yeah, had it coming.
Is there a point to drag racing people in the open desert, or is there's gonna be a hold up?
It's the same point you do it any place else you do it. It's just fun.
Strategically, here's my perspective of this race.
Folks, taking one more break because support for today's show is coming in from DeleteMe. I use DeleteMe. They set me up with the program because I was getting spam. I was getting email marketing. I was getting phone marketing, text marketing, political bullcrap marketing. And you know why that's all happening? Because our data is out there on the internet for anyone to see. When you buy something online, when you make an account somewhere, when you enter your personal information anywhere, that data is probably getting sold. Your social security number, your home address, your phone, all of it, it's being compiled by data brokers and sold online. And these data brokers are making a profit off of your data. It's a commodity. It stinks. Anyone can buy your private details on the web, and this can lead to all kinds of things: identity theft, phishing attempts, harassment, unwanted spam calls, and more. But now you can protect your privacy with DeleteMe. I use DeleteMe, and boy, did they find some things. The first time I made the account, answered a few questions, and put in information like my current and former addresses, my current and former phone numbers, my close relatives, and their basic contact information. And then DeleteMe went to work. And I didn't hear anything for a couple of days. And then I got an email saying, your profile has found, 1,000 points of contact. And we've automatically deleted a bunch of them, but here's some other ones that we need you to manually verify. Like, is this your address? Is this your phone number? Unfortunately, most of them were old address and phone numbers. My current stuff is still pretty safe, but still, it made me feel better getting that stuff and hitting yes, 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 delete, 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 delete. It then kept going, and it keeps going. Every month, it sends me a new report saying what it's found, what it deleted, and what I need to approve to be deleted. It's pretty cool stuff. I really like it. You can use it too. Take control of your data. Keep your private life private by signing up for DeleteMe now at a special discount for TST listeners. Get it? Today, get 20% off your DeleteMe plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/tire and use promo code TIRE at checkout. Got to do it twice. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/tire and then also enter code TIRE at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/tire, code TIRE. Now, back to the show.
They put the desert lap first. That takes out probably 30% of the competitors, 25% of the competitors, because everyone's out there red misted. Whoa! It's like Mad Max.
No, this is turn one of a 12-hour endurance race.
Right.
Basically,
Exactly.
where a third of the field is just can't help themselves. Right.
And they overdrive their truck, and so it's a mental game of being smart, because it is a 3-lap race. Yeah. This is a true endurance race, but you have to be on pace. That's the hardest thing about this sport. How hard do you go and make it to the finish? And, and if I humble brag, I have an amazing finish rate, but I've not been on pace to win, except for last year. It was my first time ever. Now I know what it takes, but it's taken me 9 years of breaking things, of making mistakes. You know what I mean? Like, this is not that race that just a good driver shows up and wins. There's so much to learn.
But is it the kind of thing that, you're very experienced. You're with a factory back team. There's other factory back teams here. What kind of a chance does a privateer on a real tight budget have to succeed in this race?
In the 4400 class, there's always one or two, and then if it's not even a privateer like Paul Horschel's a privateer. He's legit. I mean, he is making spaceships, but he's a privateer. But then you also have guys like Cole Clark they're coming up with literally new inventions, right? Like, it's not Vaughn and Lord have started from big cars, heavy. The traditional 4400 car was a big, heavy car that is getting lighter and more svelte, more performance-based, better suspension, better everything, right? There's a whole other group of people, Kyle Chaney, Cole Clark, the UTV guys that are taking the UTV and they're stretching it. They're putting more power, a little bit bigger wheelbase, a little bigger tires. And someplace in that middle is that there's some place that still hasn't been found. I mean, they're still making it up. That's the best part about it. Like, we're still making every year. The car that wins this was faster than the year before, and it's kind of like I was an Indy fan back in the day, right? So it was like they were pushing speed, and everybody was excited about having this advanced technology and speed, and you could see the speed, and to see these guys doing the same thing with technology and seeing how it used to be fairly luck of the bounce. So you'd see somebody go out and just crush qualifying by 30 seconds, beat everybody because they had their one right bounce or whatever. But when the 30 best drivers, 40 best drivers in the world are going at it and they're all within 10 seconds, 15 seconds on a course that's 3 minutes long, then you know that they're at the edge of what's capable. And they're consistently laying it down, and that edge of performance is pretty hardcore.
Well, and in this type of off-road racing, you don't see a need to impose restrictions for, quote, tighter racing the way that F1 or Indy or NASCAR.
He has classes that have that.
They do, but it's not to create a tight pack, and the unlimited will always be pushing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have very limited performance rules. We have tire ball rules, that kind of stuff that just try to keep that more of a framework to work within. But I don't think we've even come close to understanding. I mean, what's fast yet? I mean, we're close, but it's changing so fast. It's amazing.
Are there classes
Wild West
outside of Unlimited where it's all privateer teams? It's all just people building stuff at home, or is every class a mixed bag? But someone always has a shot.
Every class is a mixed bag, and everybody always has a shot. Every year yes, absolutely. This has not been a situation where there's very talented drivers, and there's drivers that have backing and are professionals and do the things. And to Vaughn's point earlier, it is not this. I believe this isn't a race that even if you came in with the absolute best talent, with the absolute best car, and all the things at your disposal, you still don't have this anywhere close to locked up.
100%.
That's great.
I think the way for you guys would understand is best, if we have a perfect race with the equipment that we have and some of the other top teams have, on paper, sure. On paper, we may be perceived to be able to dominate, but it's out there is the equalizer. So all of these guys all of these 100 guys and 700 people are showing up because they believe that they have a chance. Because you know what, the guys that on paper are going to win this can go out and end up on their lid because they didn't make a proper note, or they get jammed up in the rocks, or whatever it is. So the equalizer is the course. And this is one of those few places This sport, and I also believe that drifting as well, is one of those few places where the guy can come out of his garage with his passion-built vehicle and end up on the podium.
Yeah,
obviously
that happens.
Drive
That
and need
happens
to be
pretty
prepared.
regularly.
Yes, exactly. And so that's what I absolutely love about it. Like, F1, you probably know the 5 people that have a chance.
Right.
NASCAR, road racing,
Well, but there can be equalizers, like the wet, for instance.
Right.
The wet in F1 or in
Sure.
Pikes Peak or in any type of road course racing is the opportunity for the guy without as fast of a car to really, that's the Eric Senna story, right?
Yeah.
But it seems like there's more opportunity here, especially to go back to unlimited class. The fact you have front engine, mid engine, and UTVs that are all competing against each other, right?
Solid axle, independent rear, portals, no portals. Yep.
That is such a wide variety of solutions or mousetraps versus if it was F1 teams, everyone's cars pretty much looking the same. Yep. Obviously, there's some differences because some are very fast, or NASCAR, etc. Like, it's a more of a known formula, and here there's just so much stuff, different stuff getting thrown at you that you have to build for, and everyone's just trying to figure out how to make it through. It's rad.
Yeah, and that is one of the things that just makes this so special. And the unlimited class, I hope it never changes, because the innovation that comes out of this series, let alone this race, ends up in production products. I mean, you can see some of the UTVs that are coming out, the things that have been learned, and their capabilities in the rocks. I mean, they're coming with rock modes and trail modes, and, all of this stuff translates back, and that's a big reason why Ford is here. It's a big reason why you see the UTV manufacturers here. They're all learning. Yeah, they're creating credibility in marketing, but there's a lot of tech transfer that comes from it. I mean, this race has rocks, sand, hard pack, soft pack, boulders, has everything. You know what I mean? So for tire companies, it's the ultimate proving ground.
Yeah. It's such a crazy, crazy thing to see. People have been telling me for years to come out here, and they weren't overselling it.
Can you see your lights over there yet? You have a view, don't you?
Yeah, no, I do. It's there's ants marching up and down the hill. Little red ants marching.
Those ants are a lot louder and bigger when you get closer.
Yeah, when you get there, you're going to see the size of the ant runs.
As soon as we are done with our work obligations, we're hopping in a borrowed blue Raptor, and you're going over.
Send it, bud.
I bet you can drive it up it.
Do not listen to Dave.
You told me that car's never going to see roads again. It's true. I've got a camera crew. We can go to.
I get a thumbs up from
Mike's
the
shaking
fire
his
pit.
head.
We are good to go.
Where's Mike Levine at?
I tell you what, Lauren
Black and
Healy
white.
will probably get that thing
Black
up
and
that
white.
hill.
Oh, listen, a Ford.
You're good with that, right?
Anybody with a Ford Dearborn ID badge, have at it. Let's go.
It's R&D. This is the trickle-down technology you were talking about. We're going to learn things. We'll give that information to the engineers. We'll tell them why the car caught fire after we rolled it down the hill, and they can use that with future
I am
product.
not being a part of that.
You were just
bud.
suggesting it.
Can I ask you about your new project with Ford, by the way? I'm
Sure.
super excited to see your
Absolutely.
new Mustang. I drove your original RTR Mustang.
Yeah.
2017, 18? 18.
Our original was actually 2011.
Oh, yeah.
But
No, so
you
this
drove
is
the
second
first one you drove was our first S550 in 15.
the supercharged one. That was fast.
Yeah, so this has been the dream of mine since I started RTR, was to have a true collab with Ford. We still have our spec vehicles that we sell and build pre-title, and they're available at Ford dealers all over the country. But this is actually a car. Like right now, we get vehicles from the plant. They go to our upfit facility. We build them, and then they go to dealers. This Mustang RTR is coming directly from Flat Rock. It is something that I've been working on for almost 2 years with the Mustang team, and we have developed the most technologically advanced, enthusiast, performance-focused turbocharged Mustang ever.
I'm
And
super
it
stoked.
is so rad.
I'm super excited to drive it. Congratulations. It's
Thank
going to
you.
be great. Your handling kits are really good. Your body kits are really good. You can't tell us what you did to the engine, right?
No, the only thing that I can talk about in this moment is that the things you see on the outside. So it's obviously got our grill with our integrated lighting, new wheels. We did make the offset a bit aggressive, and we did announce that we stole some parts from the Dark Horse on the chassis side, and the other really one cool thing I can talk about is it has anti-lag.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It may not be as vocal as that, but the the benefit of the anti-lag with respect to response is there for
Handbrake.
Yeah.
Has the handbrake.
yeah.
This is
has
important.
the drift brake that myself and Chelsea helped develop for the new S550.
So Zach and I recently, the people here at King of the Hammers, they're not going to like this bit because we drove the electric Mustang Mach-E Rally, which is
Why wouldn't they like that?
I don't know. It doesn't seem like an EV crowd, but maybe
They're performance-based, but the problem with the EV is at some point you got to get home and you can't do it.
Yeah, I know.
Sure, you'd be stuck
From
right
here, that could be a problem.
Torque would be awesome.
Well, actually, Optima has hydrogen chargers for everybody here.
Yeah,
and there's a ton of off-road electric vehicles here.
Good.
I've got one. I think I love electric control. I think from a performance perspective, electric controls will let you do things that is the next generation. 10 years from now, when you are controlling wheel speed at a truly infinite level and you're doing it because of electric controllers, that's when traction control will be mind-blowing.
Well,
right?
we're there now with road cars, with cars, like the Taycan Turbo GT, the Lucids, the Ioniq 5N, and I was going to say the Mach-E Rally, because before we drove it, JR hit me up. He's like, you're going to like that. Mm-hmm. And when we got it on dirt, the weight transfer ability of that car with the active, torque vectoring and the low center of gravity, that had the best weight transfer on loose of any production car I've ever driven.
It's so good. I did the driving at the media day with one of the WRC drivers that Ford worked with, and it was my first time driving the car. And I showed up at Dirtfish, and I was so impressed. And I had so much fun with it.
Yeah.
And you're right. The battery being 4 inches off the ground, it just rotates like this. It's like ultimate center axis rotation.
And you could add angle on throttle.
Oh, yeah.
It was a great.
But it's also however they programmed the way the motors work, not the diffs, like the motors respond well. Because we've driven other electric cars where when you turn off traction and you're in loose area, loose surface, they're sending a little too much to the inside left tire or a little too much to the back or whatever it is, and it just feels like 2 steps behind you. This felt like a really good NA all-wheel drive rally car that was doing exactly what you expected with all of that clever stuff.
Ford's got badass.
It was really fun. But I was wondering why. I think the next one needs the handbrake. It's electric anyway. The Mach-E Rally with the handbrake would be so sick.
I agree.
And I got to drive Porsche's electric race car concept, and they have invented something. They have invented a left foot braking oversteer pedal. So you know how you can initiate oversteer with the handbrake on underbraking?
Sure.
This allows you to do it on power. So when you're adding throttle, if you start to push, if you hit the left foot brake, it cuts the front motor and overdrives the rear to add angle.
It's like a subtle clutch kick.
It's an electric clutch
So
kick.
to get you out of understeer, just
Yes.
wow.
Yeah. And you just ride the left pedal, and it just adds angle. I was
Got
like,
it.
so
Yeah.
the Mach-E Rally, and then you've got the perfect off-road electric vehicle.
Yeah.
It was so great.
Yeah, that car rips. I had so much fun on that thing, and we took seasoned. I'm a fan of electric vehicles. I mean, we've built some really cool electric vehicles, the Mach-E 1400 and the switchgear F-150 Lightning, and I'm a big fan of the technology. And my favorite thing ever is putting people in the car that are like electric.
Yeah.
And I take them and they're like, oh my gosh, I
Well,
didn't know
they're
this was
all so
electric.
fast. I mean, they're all fast, right?
Yeah.
Every electric car is a dragster, but a lot of them lack soul. So you got to make up for soul. They come up with gimmicks, right? So the Ioniq 5N has a synthetic gearbox that sounds really stupid, but actually works.
How's it feel? Does
Like
it
a gas
feel?
car.
You can feel it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It drives just like a gas car.
It redlines like a gas car. I mean, everything. Yeah,
It's awesome.
It's well done.
It's actually great. It's really fun. And then the Mach-E has this loose surface behavior that's so good. And other electric cars have other sort of gimmicky behaviors, and like they're kind of figuring out how to inject fun into this stuff, which
Which is what it needs. I
Yeah.
mean, I think if I'm not going to go hard on political, but I think that if electric wasn't so politicized and it wasn't feeling like it was being shoved down everybody's, in there, like forcing people, I think it would be a lot different perspective right now, because when you look at the true experience as an enthusiast and from a performance perspective, you can't argue it. So I'm excited to see where that space continues.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in a few years one of these unlimited trucks is going to be hybrid and ultimately will be Dave innovated, and he has an electric buggy here. He He
Is it
developed
awesome?
it.
How many motors does it have?
It's just one.
Okay.
We just wanted to prove that we could make basically convert a gas. We converted the spec car that he originally started racing in, a spec class car. We turned from a Hemi into an EV car, Data Spicer motor, and it scratched the itch and it got us going to the point to know that the controls are the tangible, tactile ability you have to control the car. Like, you're talking about like the way you could the way they can use engineering to provide that clutch kick you're talking about, right? That's the kind of stuff that especially the farther you get off-road, the more traction is everything, and they're going to be able to manage that in a way that we can't do right now.
Well, we've off-roaded in like the Rivian and a couple other electric SUVs, and if they have two motors, I mean, maybe it's very subjective or whatever, but you can just feel the tires like almost talking to the rock, talking to the computer, giving just a 0.5% more torque, whereas a gas car would have to like over rev it a little bit, give it a little bit too much or not enough. Because I came out here on the Chevy ZR2 launch, which great truck, et cetera, but just having to rev it up a little bit, having to wait for the turbo to spool. And, any motors solve that. Superchargers kind of solve that lag. But with electric, there's zero. So there's so much control.
We
It's
have the
incredible.
electric G-Wagon, which is 4 motors. You can do the
the 10 turns?
axis spins, which is fun and is definitely something you should do. But it had all seasons on it. And I took it up our standard off-road trail, which is in Rower Flats, north of L.A. It's like
Gorman area.
Huh?
Gorman area.
Yeah, it's near there.
Yep.
And it's not King of the Hammers, but for literally stock vehicles, it's about what anybody would do. And that we went up the whole trail. It's pretty steep. 10% throttle the whole way. Never moved my foot. And the crunch of gravel under tires, you didn't hear it. There was no difference between wheel speed and forward motion. It was just this very precise up.
Yep.
Just up. It was so great.
It gave you as much power as you could handle, and not one thing more, and exactly what you needed. And
Yes.
Just to getting to the point of being able to control wheel speed left to right. I mean, at best we have lockers that are selectable lockers that you're controlling the torque to individual wheels, but you're still sending power to the front, sending power to the back. In our sport, the biggest problem we have is the contention between the front and the back of the car. When they're at speed in the desert, correct me if I'm wrong, but the biggest difference between like a four-wheel drive trophy truck and an Ultra 4 car is that trophy truck's going to have a overspinning front end, so that when the ground speed differentiates from the wheel speed and the car starts to porpoise like that, it rolls like a two-wheel drive truck, right? Like a rally car would go. When they go with the electric, when you get to electric vehicles and able to control that wheel speed, we won't have that contention. The car will sit flat. It'll go in hand with the computer, with the suspension, and the cars will just become infinitely better. Infinitely, it's going to be.
Is anyone campaigning an electric truck in any class here, or are they just
we've had
hobbyists right now?
It's all hobbyists building trucks from home. Kyle Seguin, the husband, the Silvas, from up north. They built a truck and raced it. So there's been 2 or 3 trucks built at home and brought here.
And I guess I phrased it wrong. And they've entered in races. They're not just driving around for fun.
No, they raced.
Cool.
Yep. If we have an EB class, we've been giving them the first desert loop and just basically giving them that challenge. And they're doing it. They're making all that of themselves. This is literally still garage built people going and doing the things.
Yeah, there's plenty of hot rodding. I drove a guy it's called Tesla Sand Truck on Instagram, but he basically took a trophy truck and put a Tesla motor in the back. And he would go to Glamis, speaking about giving people, like, if they come in with bias of people go one way or other, either they hate EVs or they love EVs, but it's been very politicized. But he goes there and he just does a wheelie and he wins a drag race, and people come up and they go, "What's in this?" And then he says, "Come for a ride." And of course, you just change everyone's mind.
Boom.
Oh yeah, just does a wheelie past anything, or whatever.
You do wheelies on sand. Whatever you've got is working.
Yeah.
You're fine.
You're wheeling past the other wheelies. Yeah, it's very.
It's exciting though. It's such an exciting time in this space. People are wanting to get back and connect with nature and just get out in the places that are least unseen. And it's just very exciting. You can see obviously Ford is all in on off-road with all the racing they're doing, the amazing products they have coming out, their commitment to Raptor.
They're all in on racing, period. I mean,
Yeah.
Jim Farley is, He's a racing driver, and he is spending money on the things that he thinks are important.
No, it's not.
We
It's not
happen to
just
agree
Jim.
with him.
Believe Bill Ford loves racing, and they're just very. Ford is built on racing, and they're committed to keeping that history going. And everyone knows that creates a cachet, and they take it serious, and they are learning for things to do with the vehicles. I mean, when we meet up later, we go out and you have your Raptor and you follow me, you are going to be blown away with what that thing can do.
Well, we hit some whoops earlier. I mean, it's very impressive. The live valve is, and the size of that truck is great. Power is good. The power is equal to his old 2011 6.2 Raptor.
I had a 6.2 Raptor.
Yeah.
Our little Ranger Raptor makes the same power and torque and weighs 600 pounds less and has better steering and paddle shifters.
Yeah.
And smaller.
It's great.
It's great.
That's small trucks for the win.
Small trucks for the,
And it's like 55 grand?
Yeah,
50,
something like that.
55 grand?
55.
I mean, for like you can't build something that capable for that money.
It's pretty. I mean, what all of the OEMs are delivering from the factory now in terms of performance, not just off road but on road too. I mean, the stuff that that you can buy from GM, whether it's a Z06 or a Shelby GT500 or a Porsche Turbo or whatever. You're buying 9-second drag cars. 200 mile an hour, and that are totally fine to go get groceries in also.
Have you driven a Raptor R yet?
Yeah.
I don't even know 5 people in my life that should have one of those. They are so good. They are so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just like, they're unbelievable trucks.
They have a lot more power than brakes, and they're 8 feet tall.
But it's a riot, man. It is. You are driving a firework. It's so good.
Mike,
0-60s like 3 seconds, 3:45.
Every morning I bring the Raptor R home. My boys are like, "Daddy, do a burnout blast off." So they'll be up against the front window, like both of them, and I'll go to leave, and I'll just blow the tires off and leave in the driveway. And they just absolutely love it.
That's a good time.
You got a piece of dirt at your place where you could light them up on your own property, and it's all good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't pull that one off. I can't do.
No,
I can't
that's
play
out of
11s
LA.
leaving my neighborhood.
No, you can do it in your driveway, I think, legally, but that's a very short burnout.
Yeah, let's just talk about a legal battle. I don't want it.
If you ever want to go fast, you can stop by here anytime you want to.
The desert it's the last bastion, right? This is where you can be free in a 4-wheeled vehicle.
Yeah.
The ride we went on today, but also we've driven side by side the Polaris Turbo, and other times we've been in the desert with various horsepower. You get to experience all the things that we kind of want to experience on the road, but you can't for safety and legal reasons, and you can do all of that out here. You can get air and slide and kind of relive like movie driving if you want to, and then challenge the hell out of yourself at 1 mile per hour or 100. If you get a trailer or something, you can just drive out here. Like, it is the best. For me, it is the most fun I've had in vehicle, period. Beyond drifting cars at a slow speed, not your speed, and beyond road course stuff. There's just so much more happening. There's just way more adrenaline and way more to pay attention to. It's just so fun.
You get it, bud.
I'm in,
Good
dude. I am
summary.
in. Yeah.
You get it.
Do you think that for young people that maybe don't have access to fast cars and racetracks, that getting into side by sides and stuff, not even competitively, but can really translate to road driving competency and skill and all that kind of stuff?
100%.
It totally does.
100%.
It's all weight transfer. You were nailing it earlier, but the reality, it's all weight transfer, and off-road, it's more of a macro weight transfer, right? You're doing, I can't even imagine, I still have never been in a drift car with you, but your weight transfer is more subtle, not as macro, not as big, but is all of the work, right? As soon as when you push the car to each direction, and off-road's the same way, except that the moves are much more gross. So
Happens a lot slower in off-road, but you have to manage it. You have to control exactly where it's at, because if you do it the wrong time, you're on your lid. Yep. Or if you don't know the dirt you're on and you catch it, it's like you said, there's so many things to know.
You get on a rock crawling, and you can if you turn a little too much wheel angle, and you end up jacking the front suspension to roll the car over. But if you open up that steering, you'll open up the suspension, it'll sit down, and it won't. And you're making that jacking happen like super slow, that's the fun.
I would prefer this over karting. Like my kids right now,
Oh, yeah.
and
UTV
whether if they want to go
over
in
karting,
racing or not, whatever. But right now, I've got them in the dirt. four-wheelers, buggies, because those dynamics, right? Karting is the same thing over and over. Yeah, it does teach you how to be smooth, lower power. You do understand, you learn momentum from karting. But when it comes to vehicle dynamics, like that's my challenge with road racers. Road racers live below the limit.
Yeah.
And when they get to or above the limit,
They shut down.
they shut down.
Yeah.
They have no idea what to do. So I'm like, if you're road racing or you're like breeding your kid to race, drifting, dirt,
Rally.
loose surface stuff, because that it gives so much confidence when the car is ultimately going to come loose when you're road racing.
Yeah.
Right.
It's either going to come loose when you want it to or when you don't want it to.
Right.
It's like you get to choose if you're.
Do you know what? I don't know his full name. SVG, the guy who's like the hot shoe in NASCAR road courses right now.
Shane
Van Ginsburg.
Yeah.
He's the V8 supercar guy.
When they did the race at
He's
Sonoma,
Yeah.
which he won, on the victory lap, all these NASCARs, they're all going around like a cool down. And he literally S-drifted past and around other cars, which, one, I mean, you're just dunking all the people you just beat. But also it showed that he had massive control beyond the limit. I mean, I was so blown away watching that. And so he had control beyond the limit, so he was able to drive at it and above it ahead of a lot of other people. It was masterful.
100%.
In the early 90s, there was a different hot rod that was doing road racing for NASCAR. His name was Robert Gordon, and he was winning.
Yeah. And then he went to off-roading and did all those.
Well, he was in off-road before he went to NASCAR.
did off-road first. Okay.
And IndyCar and all the things. But, I mean, you are... I agree with everything Vaughn's saying, that you have all the it's just bigger. And if you're driving your entire race at that limit as opposed to you staying below it all the time, always wanting to avoid it, you're constantly embracing it, and you're constantly treading there, and it's
becomes
amazing.
a comfort zone.
That's why it's amazing watching you guys do it.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing to watch. I mean, you could see it. When you're watching road racing or even drifting, outside the car, it's a smooth thing. It's only when you get inside the car that you realize how much work is being done. But here you could see that work from the outside, which makes it a much more, I think, compelling spectator sport if you really love driving. This was a real treat. We got to cut it off because you guys have a driver's meeting.
We do.
Here, right now.
Yeah.
And that hill across the way is getting awfully bright.
Yes.
So I think Zach and I are going to take our borrowed Ranger Raptor and head up there and see what's going on.
Definitely.
Dave, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming out.
And having
It's been a
us.
pleasure. Look forward to...
JR,
Thank you.
always great to see you.
Pumped to see you out here.
Great
my man.
race. Thank you for joining us here on the old show.
Heck yeah.
And love to the family back home, of course. And thank you to Ford for our borrowed Raptor and our RV over there. And I promise we won't break it too heavily. That's our
We're not
show.
gonna break it.
Thanks for listening. See you later.
Cheers.